Mostly, you'll find vines growing on jungle wood, some oak wood, and some strange forest areas, and mostly in swamps. I wouldn't try growing vines on oak wood, fallen trees, or even anywhere near swamps since you have a less chance of it actually spawning. You have a better chance to have it spawn on jungle wood from jungle saplings. Those ones, they'll give you a better chance at actually growing some, and then you could harvest it with some shears. Now, shrub is basically the only thing that doesn't really have too much of a crazy purpose. If you break it, it will. I have to go over again. Oh man. What the heck? I'm never gonna be able to. Should I just quit YouTube or something? Cause. I mean, I'm never gonna go anywhere with it anyway. I should just give up. I'm not gonna be able to finish this stupid thing. Screwed up so much. Like, how the hell am I gonna finish any of this? Let's go one more go. Hello everyone, GamerMix17. Work Yo, what is up, my dudes and dudettes? It's your favorite reject gamer Mixer17 here, bringing you another Minecraft video. Now, my apologies for missing Sunday streaming. Things have been a little hectic. In fact, right now I'm actually streaming on Sunday, and not doing this video, but I'm unable to upload it because I want to try to fit a schedule, and that is to do a Minecraft lessons on Wednesdays and try to do the streamings on Sundays, and anything that I come up with along the way, like some video clips of me doing some crazy stuff or some interesting matches or whatever, I will upload. Alright, so what's it called? So I will be your guide and helper basically with a subject called farming based off its title that I have for this thing. So basically I will become Farmer Mixer. Now let's get started. Now in order for this whole thing to work, you are gonna need, obviously, the one most important thing, a crafting table. With some 2 sticks and whatever resource that is required to make any type of tools, such as iron, wood, gold, stone, and including diamonds, and put it into a formation just as I showed you to make a hoe of any type. I'm just going to use diamonds because whatever. Now then, moving on from that, another important thing that you're going to need are 2 major blocks, which is dirt and water. Now, the thing about water and the thing about the whole thing of farming when it comes to Minecraft is that, yes, water is entirely necessary, including sunlight or any type of light source, as long as it's not too dark in an area for crops to grow. Now, if it's night, that's a different story, but crops absolutely need, 100% need, some form of water source and light, because without a water source, the crop will have some fertility, I guess you can say, to hold any type of plants or anything that you grow on it, but after you destroy it, it will, of course, not work. Now, when it comes to the water source and its range, is that you don't need an entire row or some crazy mechanism of water. You just need 1 source block, and it already can go up to 4 blocks from its source, basically having a 4 block radius on how this entire thing works. Nothing too crazy, and it's basically just as simple as that. Get a hoe, get some water, have some dirt around, and you can go up as 4 blocks in any direction, including diagonal, in some form of weird way that I'm not going to even try to go over because, well, that's too much for me. So, let's start off with the more simpler and more noticeable ones out of every single thing that's in this chest right now. That may look a little confusing, but I'll explain it some other time, and I mean later. So, all that it is that's required for many of these things is just as simple as all these. Seeds you can obtain from random generated chests, such as from dungeons, temples, or you could just punch a bunch of grass and you have a chance of getting a hold of this, and it will help in the long run because it will eventually grow a very important resource called wheat. Now, wheat is used in multiple different types of crafting recipes when it comes to food, and it's used in more than just filling up your hunger, but it's also used to barn or herd or whatever you want to call it for animals. Basically just food for animals. The next thing I'll go over is potatoes. Now potatoes, you have a better chance of finding these in villages. If not, you can find them in some dungeons or some mine shafts, and that's really all about it. Potatoes don't spawn as often when it comes to obtaining it from the ground or whatever. Same thing with carrots. Carrots isn't as common either. As you can clearly see, when you first plant them, they all look the same. It's the same thing with beetroots as well, except for beetroot, it's only found in villages, I mean. And I don't prefer it, but it is good when it comes to soup. Now, it's as simple as that, nothing too crazy, and they all roughly look the exact same, except this one because it's already growing a little. Another thing is cocoa beans. Whoops, nope, not cocoa beans. Sugarcane, my bad. Sugarcane needs a water source. It needs to be next to a water source, but it doesn't need to have tilted ground, so that saves you some trouble, if there is any trouble. Melon seeds and pumpkin seeds have, of course, their own appearance, but they look relatively the same. And they are grown in this way. Now, the thing that you have to keep in mind about this is how they grow. They grow very differently when it comes to the other ones. For instance, if you grow these, they'll have their own unique feature. Wheats will have this yellow texture, potatoes will have like their own little design on the bottom, carrots and beetroots. When it comes to melons and pumpkins, however, they'll grow up into a stem-like thing like this. They'll look very similar, but what will happen is that both the pumpkin and the melon will grow on the side, either right here, 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 or here. Basically a cross, never diagonal. And they can only grow there if there's a ground and if there's nothing blocking it, such as a form of wall or some grass or whatever like that. It's nothing too crazy. Now, when it comes to sugarcane, yeah, sugarcane only grows up to a max of 3 when, of course, you fertilize it or whatever. It doesn't really grow any higher, but I'm pretty sure I've seen it at rare occasions where it will grow up to a 4th block. So that's pretty useful. Sugarcane can be used as sugar based off its own name and all that stuff. Nothing too crazy. Another resource would have to be cocoa beans. Cocoa beans are basically like this. What's it called? They obviously, as you can see here, cannot be grown on any other wood except for jungle wood. So don't go thinking that you could use spruce wood, oak wood, dark oak wood, or anything. Just jungle wood. Now, in this stage, they have this weird little green color, disgusting thing, and nothing too crazy about that. But if they'll eventually grow. They grow a really lot quickly. It's amazing how much fast they grow. They have 3 stages: this puny stage, this stage, and finally this really large, looks like a head stage. And this is basically a sign that it is good to pick it up and it's practically ripe. If you obtain it or harvest it, it'll give you 3 cocoa beans and nothing too crazy. When it comes to these, since it's block structured, it will only give you 1 per block. In this case, if I'm just to knock out the entire thing, it'll give me 3. These, however, this can span from 1 to 3 of the beetroots, and the seeds is the same thing. Carrots, they don't have any seeds whatsoever. Same thing with potatoes, they have a range of 1 to 3 as well. And wheat is the same situation as the beetroot. As for both the melon and pumpkins, when they grow on the sides, it's of course 1 block, and it will not grow anything more than just that. What's it called? So, looking past that, next up I'll be going over some shrubbery, mushrooms, dirt, and a few flowers. I know it's a strange one to put flowers in, but you'll see why it is. Now, when it comes to shrubbery, or basically shrub, as it's said right here, shrubs are mostly common when it comes to really large spruce forests. The ones where they have the gigantic trees. I can't remember what the proper name is. I know I'm forgetting it. I believe it's the tundra biome. I could be wrong on that. My apologies for that. But yes, you could basically plant it. Nothing too crazy. You can destroy it. I believe they'll give you sticks. I'm not 100% sure of that. And you can of course harvest it with the shears, because shears, they have the possibility of doing anything. Vines, however, are a different story. Vines can grow on normal oak wood, some dark oak wood, and mostly, most commonly at least, jungle wood. On the oak wood and dark oak wood is of course most common within its own dark forests or dark oak wood forests where the mansions are going to be at. And when it comes to oak wood, it's mostly common when it comes to swamp biomes, or sometimes in rare occasions you'll find them in within forests, normal forests, or fallen trees. Now, jungle wood, however, will have the most likely chance of ever spawning it. If you get hold of some saplings, you can grow it and harvest it with some shears. Once again, those things are very useful. Now, mushrooms are a difficult case. Mushrooms, you can't plant them in the lights. Mushrooms have to grow within a dark area, both of them at least, or at least with some low level lighting. So in order for that to work, you're gonna have to be in like a cave or some form of makeshift area where it has enough light to not spawn any mobs, but enough light for it to just grow. Now, I know that sounds crazy, but yes, mushrooms can grow. They grow into quite a good hefty thing. They have their own block, which was added updates ago, which is the red mushroom, the gray mushroom. This mushroom is basically the whole innard mushroom, I guess you can call it, and the stem. Now, these things can grow up to quite a tall height. Not super tightened heights, but they can grow pretty tall. So you'll definitely be having enough mushrooms for that to sustain you for a good long while. Now then, I wanted to move on to another type of little shrubbery, which are just your average plants. Nothing too crazy, just you know, the things that give a little bit more decorative works with, you know, the world, and that's it. Now, I wanted to go over these because these are technically considered as the farming items, because with tall plants like these, such as I can't remember what these things are called, the lilac, sunflowers, rose bushes, including some other plants that I did not pick up, my apologies for that, such as the Pennoni, I'm sorry for butchering that name. Those are very unique plants because if you happen to have bone meal, you can actually harvest these in a much different way. Sure, you can knock them out and then pick them up and turn them into dye, but these plants are kind of limited unless you take bone meal and that's it. Just click it and it'll give you another one. You can basically farm this thing, and there is no limit to this thing whatsoever. You can just farm it, keep farming it, and no problems whatsoever. You could have enough dyes to last you for all of eternity if you want. It's the same thing for rose bushes and sunflowers. Nothing too crazy. Also the Pennoni, I'm sorry, I can't pronounce it. Now, these ones right here are basically the large ferns, which are just double tall version of this. These are most common within the tundra biomes or the spruce wood forests. Now these you can't grow any higher than this, but the mini ones you can. It's as simple as that when it comes to this. They will not grow naturally. As for the smaller flowers, sadly you can't, but if you click on it, you'll just spawn more of them around. You just won't be able to do the same thing as you did for this one. Tall grass and double tall grass, I'm assuming that's, yes, double tall grass are the exact same, just a little taller, a little bit, you know, basically to have a better chance of being used for an area that's shown as a worn down place. Of course, you can grow it, but you can't grow it any taller than this. Nothing too crazy, nothing too fancy, but something of interest in case, you know, there's any of those people who like to do some gardening or exterior design, basically. Now, a few things I would like to go over are a few of the unique cases when it comes to farming. And that is the requirement of no dirt, but instead sand, endstone, and soulstone. Actually, I just realized endstone's gonna have to go just right here, just for now. Now, sand and red sand, I believe so at least, I could be wrong on that. You can grow cactus, or cacti, whatever you prefer. Which will allow you to basically have green dye if you were to furnace it, and that's really about it. Of course you can grow it. It of course won't work for this, sadly, so you gotta wait. You gotta wait patiently. I've seen these things grow up to a maximum of 5 blocks, I believe, in rare occasions, and same thing with 4 blocks as well, but they'll grow a maximum of the most common is 3 blocks. That's how high you can get them to, and you can knock them down from the source, and that's about it. Now, if you were to put a block touching them, they will knock out, so please be in caution of that. Nether warts can only be grown on soul sand. They come in 4s, and you can't bone meal them either. Now, if you farm it, they have a range of between basically 2 to 4, and that's it. Most common, you'll get 3, but in rare occasions will you get 4 or 2, and that's about it. Now, the reason why I had endstone was because of another unique plant found within the End City. That's after you defeat the Ender Dragon, find the portal, and all that stuff. Yada yada. What you get it? Basically, these plants called chorus fruit or chorus plants will be able to be obtainable from there if you knock out the source of the block. Now, these things you can't grow either, but they grow over time, and they'll grow into this really odd looking shape of some form of crooked, twisted, corrupted tree, I guess you can call it. So, yeah, it's really unique in its own way, and of course, chorus plant will give you its own thing. Oh, there's the plant. Sorry, my bad. Its own unique feature, which is to basically warp you in different areas and all that stuff. Nothing too crazy, nothing too fancy, but definitely an interesting thing to go through. Now, as I am going to go through the last remaining few, I, of course, have to go over another very important thing, which is the tree selection, and I guess I'll throw in the dead shrub, or dead bush. Now, dead bushes, they can't be placed on the ground, and they're only found within desert areas. Basically, only planted on these. Now, trees are highly important since they are required of basically their own structures and their own things, and I'm not going to go over too much of them. But basically, they require their own things that will allow them to grow in the long run. Now, what's it called? The oak tree has 2 forms. It can grow into this mini thing, which is the most common, or it can grow into a much larger tree, and it has much more wood, but it's harder to obtain. Now, oh thank God, it did work. If you were to get a hold of, I'll go over both of them. Both the spruce wood and dark oak wood, if you were happen to get 4 of them, plant them all into a square of a 2x2, and just let them naturally grow like this one, or fertilize it with bone meal. They will grow into its own structure. For dark oak wood, it has to have 4. It will not grow if it's 1, as in like these few things here. Spruce wood can actually be grown by itself or in 4s, such as these or this. Now, spruce wood can grow into something similar to this, but okay, I was like that, but in a much skinnier version. Jungle wood can be grown in 4s as well, and it'll grow up to this. Like I said, with the vines, you'll have them most common here. If it's a singular, you can still grow it, and you still can get vines as well. Birch wood is the same thing like oak wood, except a little taller most of the time, and acacia wood, my apologies for pronouncing that incorrectly, will give you a tree that usually has its own shape that's crooked and twisted, not like the coarse plant, however, but it's still roughly the same. Now, moving on from that, I will continue on with the few final plants, I guess you can call them, but not too important to harvest or farm. Bamboo was introduced in the recent update, at least for console players, of 1.13. I'm not going to go into the rest of the things. Basically, you get a hold of it through jungles, basically, jungle biomes. That's where you'll mostly find them. And that's basically about it. You can plant them, they'll look like this little sapling thing, or you could fertilize it and they'll slowly start to grow into this. Now if you keep fertilizing it, as you can clearly saw, it got a little thicker and it'll grow up to a maximum height of, I can't remember all too well, but yes, it will grow up to a maximum height. I thought it was 13, but it's actually 14. Yes, I know I deleted one, but I already had one in the beginning, so it's a maximum of 13. Now, another one, which really isn't all that important, is lily pads. Lily pads, they are basically kind of like a death trap if you were having to get under them. They will suffocate you if there's so many of them and you can't find an escape route, but they're easy to destroy and they can easily be harvested. You can run them into them or punch them and you'll be able to obtain them. As for actually farming them as with bone meal, no, that's not going to happen. Sea pickles are another unique feature that was added within the aquatic updates. These things are basically a light source and they'll grow naturally into 4 pairs. Like this, the more pickles, the brighter it will be. Now kelp can grow up to a really high point. As for how high, I can't remember all too well. I want to say up to 20 or 26, but I could be wrong on that. My apologies for that. You could punch it easily. It's kind of like sugarcane, and you'll be able to get a bunch of it. You could even furnace it, and you could use it as a type of fuel source or food source, but I wouldn't recommend it. I'm not going to go over that though, because that's for another time. Seagrass is only able to be planted within the water, of course, and you can't really grow it, sadly. Trust me on that. If I were to put these here, you can't grow it whatsoever. I mean, you could just fertilize the thing over and over again. You could double it. And from what I remember, I believe so at least. Yep, see? You can double it, or triple it, I think. But it's nothing too crazy, and it's more of a decoration item. Now then, I believe that is about it. Yes, it is. So I've basically gone over every single one of them. I'm sorry I couldn't show you some of them since I forgot about the peony, I can't pronounce it still, and the mushrooms since I didn't prepare a dark area. I'm sorry for that. No, I did not mean to sound creepy that way. So I hope you all had a good time. I hope you all learned something. I hope you all, at least, I'm going to take a few advices, which is, of course, do not build a straight line of water because it's completely useless. You just need one water source, or build or make a farm near a water, lake, ocean, whatever. It doesn't matter. As long as you play it out smart, and that's basically it. All you have to do is just play it smart, know what it is you're doing, notice what you're growing, and you can pull it off easily. And as shown from the pumpkins and melons, this is what I was talking about. They're only 1 block, and you can only obtain 1 at a time. A few times I have seen them grow 2, but it's rare occasions as well. Now, I hope you all had a good day. I hope you all enjoy this, and I am now gonna say goodbye. See ya!